This video will contain 2 horror and thriller stories for you to listen and relax to. In the background, soft rain and thunder will be comforting sounds while you listen to the stories. I hope you will find this video peaceful, and I also wish you a good night's sleep. The night hung heavy with a chilling fog, cloaking the forlorn town in an otherworldly silence. Samuel Price, a man haunted by the echoes of his past, stood at the edge of the mist, peering through the murkiness toward the desolate asylum that loomed like a specter on the outskirts. The moon, a feeble orb, shrouded in wisps of cloud, cast feeble light on the crumbling facade, its jagged silhouette etched against the indigo sky. The air was thick with a palpable sense of foreboding as Samuel took hesitant steps, the damp earth beneath his boots creaking softly. The asylum, once a haven for the tormented, now lay abandoned, a decaying relic of forgotten horrors. The entrance, its grand doors warped with age, beckoned Samuel with an eerie invitation that sent shivers down his spine. The wind whispered through the skeletal branches of long-dead trees, a haunting melody that seemed to carry the tortured souls of the past. Samuel's breath caught in his throat as he crossed the threshold, the air inside the asylum, heavy with the weight of untold secrets. The dim light filtering through broken windows painted ghostly patterns on the cracked walls, revealing a place frozen in time. In the stillness, Samuel's senses sharpened. A distant creak, a faint murmur, and the occasional rustle of unseen creatures added to the symphony of the Forsaken. Shadows danced across the cold stone floor, seemingly alive, with a sinister purpose of their own. Samuel's heart quickened as he pressed on, guided by an invisible force that tugged at the edges of his sanity. As he delved deeper into the asylum's bowels, the air grew colder, and the atmosphere thickened with an oppressed energy. His footsteps echoed in the narrow corridors, each sound magnified into an unsettling chorus. Whispers, too soft to discern, brushed against his ears, leaving behind an unsettling residue of unease. The asylum seemed to pulse with a malevolent energy, as if the very walls held the memories of anguish and suffering. Samuel's breath misted in the frigid air as he passed rooms that bore witness to unspeakable horrors. Flickering candlelight cast dancing shadows, creating an illusion of movement within the stagnant air. A sudden gust of wind rattled the broken windows, and the shadows seemed to coalesce into phantasmal forms that flitted at the periphery of Samuel's vision. The asylum had become a living entity, a repository of forgotten nightmares that sought to ensnare the intruder within its spectral grasp. The moon, now obscured by a veil of clouds, left Samuel in near darkness. His senses heightened, and every step became a cautious dance with the unknown. The asylum whispered its secrets in hushed tones, promising revelations that would unravel the tapestry of his grief. As Samuel ventured further into the heart of darkness, the asylum's malevolent presence tightened its grip, setting the stage for a nightmarish journey into the shadows of the forgotten. The creaking door groaned in protest as Samuel pushed it open, revealing a corridor cloaked in darkness. Dust particles hung suspended in the air, caught in the flickering beams of moonlight that filtered through broken windows. The asylum, once a haven for the desperate and broken, now exhaled a haunting breath of forgotten torment. Samuel's steps echoed eerily as he ventured deeper, each footfall a hesitant punctuation mark in the unnerving silence. Shadows clung to the peeling wallpaper, dancing with the phantom whispers that seemed to emanate from the very walls themselves. The air carried a musty scent of decay, mingled with the lingering touch of the tormented souls who had once sought refuge within these forsaken walls. A chill ran down Samuel's spine as he approached a partially open door, its hinges complaining as he pushed it wider. The room within was bathed in an ethereal glow, the pale light of a spectral apparition. A woman, her eyes hollow and pleading, stood by the shattered remains of a padded cell, wisps of her once. Flowing gown swirled in an otherworldly breeze. "Help me," she whispered, the words brushing against Samuel's consciousness like the distant murmur of a long-forgotten lullaby. He felt the weight of her despair, an oppressive force that threatened to draw him into the abyss of her suffering. Images flashed before Samuel's eyes. The woman's life torn apart, her mind fractured by the cruel experiments of Dr. Blackwood, his hands clenched involuntarily, fists tightening with the shared agony of her memories. The room seemed to pulse with a heartbeat, echoing the rhythm of the asylum's dark history. Continuing his exploration, Samuel stumbled upon a hidden chamber, its door concealed behind a tattered tapestry. As he pushed it aside, the room revealed a collection of weathered journals and faded photographs, remnants of Dr. Blackwood's sinister experiments. Samuel's fingers traced the pages, each revelation pulling him deeper into the labyrinth of horror. The journals unveiled the doctor's descent into madness, his twisted desire to unlock the secrets of the human mind. Graphs and diagrams detailed the inhumane procedures inflicted upon unsuspecting patients, their anguished faces frozen in time through yellowed photographs. Samuel recoiled, aghast at the malevolence that had seeped into the very foundation of the asylum. The air thickened as Samuel continued, a spectral presence accompanying him like a phantom guide through the asylum's tormented history. Unseen eyes followed his every step, and ghostly moans reverberated in the corridors, mourning the souls forever trapped within these decaying walls. The chapter unfolded as a macabre tapestry, weaving Samuel deeper into the asylum's nightmarish past. Each revelation fueled his determination, even as the shadows clung tighter to his consciousness. The boundary between the living and the dead blurred, and Samuel felt himself becoming an unwitting participant in the malevolent dance of Dr. Blackwood's forgotten horrors. The asylum groaned as if bearing witness to the intruder's descent into its haunted depths. Samuel, his lantern casting quivering shadows, felt the weight of unseen eyes upon him. Whispers slithered through the air, chilling his skin like the caress of ethereal fingers. He pressed on, each step echoing in the desolate corridors, a symphony of his solitude. As Samuel turned a corner, the oppressive darkness gave birth to a figure, a spectral silhouette that lingered in the periphery of his trembling vision. Wisps of fog danced around the apparition, its form shifting like the tortured souls trapped within the asylum's cursed embrace. The ghostly figure materialized into the ghastly visage of Dr. Nathaniel Blackwood. Samuel. The name echoed through the stagnant air, a spectral murmur that seemed to emanate from the decaying walls themselves. Samuel's breath caught, his heart pounding as he confronted the malevolent spirit. Dr. Blackwood's features contorted into a grotesque semblance of the once respected physician. Hollow eyes bore into Samuel's soul, and a spectral hand reached out, fingers like tendrils of mist extending towards him. The air grew thick with an otherworldly tension as the engineer's logical mind clashed with the supernatural terror before him. "You cannot escape the shadows." Samuel, Dr. Blackwood's voice, a haunting melody of torment, resonated in the confined space. "I am the echo of the forgotten, the darkness that lingers in the corners of your grief." Samuel, though paralyzed by fear, clenched his lantern tightly, its feeble glow flickering in the face of the malevolent presence. The specter circled him, its form drifting through the damp air with an unsettling grace. The very essence of the asylum seemed to recoil, a silent witness to the cosmic battle between the living and the dead. "Your wife's spirit lingers here, Samuel." Dr. Blackwood's voice echoed with a sadistic glee, trapped within the walls that held the anguish of countless souls. "I offer you a chance to reunite, to embrace the eternal darkness together." As the offer hung in the air, a chorus of ghostly moans echoed through the corridor, an agonizing symphony that pierced Samuel's resolve. He felt the weight of guilt and grief pressing down upon him, threatening to consume his sanity. The lantern's light dimmed, casting elongated shadows that seemed to dance to the rhythm of the malevolent spirit's words. Samuel, torn between the logical boundaries of his profession and the supernatural horrors he faced, stood at the precipice of a choice that could damn him or save him from the shadows of the forgotten. Darkness draped the asylum like a shroud, and Samuel, with trepidation etched into every step, ventured deeper into its accursed heart. The flickering light of his lantern cast long, distorted shadows on the crumbling walls, creating a dance of phantom figures that seemed to mock his intrusion. As he moved through the desolate corridors, the air grew heavy with an unspoken anguish, and the echoes of tortured souls resonated in the creaking floorboards. Whispers, barely audible, slithered through the air like ethereal serpents, leaving Samuel to question his own sanity. Was it the wind, or the mournful murmurings of the forgotten? The walls seemed to pulse with the asylum's grim history. Streaks of dried blood adorned the cracked paint, each splatter telling a tale of despair and decay. Samuel's senses heightened, catching glimpses of apparitions out of the corner of his eye. Specters caught in an eternal loop of suffering. A door, barely hanging on its hinges, beckoned him into a room that bore witness to Dr. Blackwood's twisted experiments. Broken restraints lay scattered, the rusty remnants of shackles that once bound tormented souls. Samuel's lantern flickered ominously as he approached a decayed table, strewn with yellowed papers detailing inhumane procedures. As he read the notes, a shiver crawled up his spine. Dr. Blackwood's meticulous recordings spoke of the agony he had inflicted on his patients, blurring the line between medical science and sadistic cruelty. The asylum's walls seemed to absorb the anguish, resonating with the collective suffering of those who had become unwitting subjects to the doctor's deranged ambitions. The ghostly moans grew louder, merging with the anguished cries of the tormented. Samuel's heart pounded, a symphony of dread echoing through the asylum. A sudden gust extinguished his lantern, plunging him into absolute darkness. In the inky void, the spirits manifested more boldly. Faces contorted in pain and terror materialized before him, their hollow eyes pleading for release. Samuel stumbled backward, his breath catching in his throat. He could feel the weight of their suffering pressing upon him, threatening to drown him in a sea of remorse. And then, a voice, a chorus of spectral whispers, reached into the depths of his soul. "You carry the guilt, Samuel Price, the burden of our pain. Redemption or damnation, the choice is yours." With trembling hands, Samuel relit his lantern, the feeble flame casting long, distorted shadows once more. The room, now imbued with a malevolent energy, seemed to pulse with a heartbeat of its own. The tormenting spirits retreated into the shadows, leaving Samuel to grapple with the weight of his own conscience. In the asylum's oppressive silence, Samuel stood at the precipice of madness, teetering on the edge of revelation and insanity. The malevolent spirit of Dr. Blackwood awaited, ready to exploit the fractures in his tormented mind. The stale air within the asylum clung to Samuel as he delved deeper into the heart of the forsaken structure. Flickering candlelight cast dancing shadows on the cracked walls, revealing the tortured souls trapped within its confines. Each step resonated with a haunting echo, a symphony of despair that seemed to beckon him further into the abyss. Samuel's hands trembled as he traced the etchings on the asylum's decaying walls, each telling a story of madness and suffering. Ghostly whispers echoed around him, overlapping in a cacophony of fragmented tales. The spirits yearned to be heard, their words a chilling symphony that filled the air. In a dimly lit chamber, Samuel uncovered a hidden passage, a gateway to the asylum's darkest secrets. A heavy wooden door, swollen with age, creaked open reluctantly, revealing a hidden laboratory bathed in an ethereal glow. Dust particles danced in the air like spectral entities, catching the cold light that seeped through the cracked windows. Glass jars lined the shelves, preserving grotesque specimens that hinted at Dr. Blackwood's unholy experiments. Samuel's gaze fell upon a row of faded notebooks, their pages filled with the deranged musings of a mind unhinged. The words danced on the paper, forming a disconcerting narrative of pain and obsession. As Samuel pored over the notes, a spectral figure materialized before him, a tortured soul bound by the agony of long-forgotten torment. Hollow eyes bore into Samuel's soul, and a voice, both plaintive and accusatory, echoed through the chamber. "Release us from this eternal night," the specter implored, its ethereal form flickering like a dying candle. Driven by a mix of dread and determination, Samuel pieced together the fragments of the asylum's grim past. The malevolent presence of Dr. Blackwood lingered, orchestrating a sinister symphony that resonated with the anguished cries of the forgotten. A hidden chamber revealed the source of the curse, an ancient artifact pulsating with malevolence, its ominous energy feeding the spirit's eternal suffering. Samuel, now armed with the unearthed truths, embarked on a quest to break the curse that bound the souls to this desolate place. The air thickened with tension as Samuel confronted the artifact, surrounded by the spectral witnesses of the asylum's dark history. Each step was a dance with the unknown, a ballet of shadows that threatened to consume him. With trembling hands, Samuel enacted a ritual to sever the ties that bound the spirits to the cursed relic. As the ritual unfolded, the asylum trembled, as if the very fabric of reality protested against the intrusion into its secrets. Shadows writhed and contorted, and the air crackled with a malevolent energy that clawed at Samuel's sanity. The spirits wailed in agony, their voices merging into a crescendo of despair that reverberated through the asylum's crumbling halls. And then, in an instant, silence. The oppressive atmosphere lifted, leaving Samuel standing amidst the ruins of the shattered artifact. The tortured souls had found release, their ethereal forms dissipating like mist in the morning sun. Samuel, drained but victorious, emerged from the chamber, the weight of the asylum's history etched on his soul. The air, once thick with dread, now carried a fleeting sense of peace. Yet, as he ventured toward the asylum's exit, a lingering uncertainty gnawed at the edges of his consciousness, a question unanswered in the shadows of the forgotten. The asylum stood as a grotesque monument to forgotten horrors, its crumbling facade casting elongated shadows under the ghostly glow of the moon. Samuel, now a man teetering on the precipice of sanity, ventured deeper into the heart of darkness. The air was thick with the stench of decay and the haunting whispers of tortured souls, echoing through the desolate corridors. As he reached the dilapidated hall where Dr. Blackwood's malevolent spirit awaited, a cold wind swept through, extinguishing the feeble candlelight that flickered in sconces along the walls. The oppressive silence was shattered by the distant wails of the trapped spirits, their anguished cries creating a symphony of sorrow. Samuel's footsteps echoed in the emptiness as he approached the chamber where Dr. Blackwood's presence lingered like a malevolent fog. Shadows danced upon the walls, taking sinister shapes that seemed to mock the frailty of the living. The once grandiose room, now warped by the touch of the supernatural, pulsed with an otherworldly energy. A spectral figure materialized before Samuel, an ethereal manifestation of Dr. Blackwood, twisted and contorted by the madness that consumed him in life. The ghostly visage bore the weight of years of torment, its hollow eyes fixated on Samuel with an intensity that penetrated the very core of his being. "You cannot escape the inevitable, Samuel," Dr. Blackwood's voice, a ghastly whisper, reverberated through the chamber. "The asylum demands its due, and your torment shall be its masterpiece." The air grew colder as the confrontation unfolded. Samuel, his eyes reflecting the haunted depths of his soul, clenched his fists in defiance. The lingering spirits moaned in anticipation, their ethereal forms swirling around the room, drawn to the impending clash between the living and the dead. In the heart of the asylum's darkness, Samuel confronted the tormented spirit of Dr. Blackwood. The malevolent force sought to break him, exploiting every crevice of his guilt and grief. Yet Samuel, fueled by a newfound resolve, resisted the psychological onslaught. The asylum quivered as the struggle intensified, a spectral tempest raging within its decaying walls. Shadows contorted and writhed, merging with the tortured souls who bore witness to the battle. The very essence of the asylum seemed to pulse with malevolence, as if the building itself were an extension of Dr. Blackwood's twisted will. As the climax approached, Samuel unearthed a revelation that shattered the illusions of the asylum. A sacrificial choice loomed before him, demanding the ultimate price for the release of the trapped souls. The echoes of his decision reverberated through the desolate corridors, sealing the fate of both the living and the dead. In the aftermath, as the asylum crumbled into ruin, Samuel emerged from the shadows, forever scarred by the horrors he had faced. The malevolent presence dissipated, leaving behind an eerie calm that whispered of the thin line between sanity and madness. The town, shrouded in fog, bore witness to the shadows of the forgotten, a testament to the enduring legacy of a place that dared to tamper with the unknown. The evening sky hung heavy with shadows, casting a dim, ethereal glow over the deserted streets as Isabella stood on the threshold of her destiny. The cold wind whispered through the cracks in the orphanage's wrought, iron gates sending shivers down her spine. In her hands, she clutched the enigmatic letter, its parchment worn and yellowed, as if burdened by the weight of untold secrets. The seal, an intricate emblem unknown to Isabella, seemed to pulsate with an otherworldly energy. It beckoned her into the mysterious abyss of her own past. As she traced her fingers over the seal, a chill danced across her skin, and an invisible thread seemed to connect the letter to the depths of her soul. With hesitant steps, Isabella crossed the threshold, the iron gates groaning in protest. The moonlight cast eerie shadows on the overgrown path leading to Holleridge Orphanage. The once grand structure loomed ahead, its silhouette a haunting reminder of long-forgotten stories. The orphanage itself stood as a silent witness to the passage of time, its facade marred by the tendrils of encroaching ivy. Hollow windows stared like vacant eyes, reflecting the hollowness of Isabella's own memories. A distant owl hooted, as if warning her of the secrets concealed within. The door, weathered and scarred, creaked open as Isabella pushed it with trembling hands. The air within carried a musty scent, a blend of aged wood and lingering despair. Dust particles danced in the feeble moonlight that filtered through cracked windows, creating an ethereal ballet of forgotten dreams. Every footstep echoed through the hollow corridors, a haunting reminder of the countless children who once roamed these halls, their laughter now silenced by the cruel hand of time. Isabella's senses heightened, attuned to the spectral whispers that seemed to emanate from the very walls. As she ascended the grand staircase, the creaking steps protested beneath her weight, adding a dissonant melody to the eerie ambience. The letter guided her to a room on the upper floor, its door slightly ajar. Hesitation lingered in the air like a tangible force, yet an unspoken force urged Isabella forward. Upon entering, Isabella's eyes fell upon an old wooden chest, adorned with faded engravings. The letter, now glowing faintly, directed her to open it. Inside, a collection of relics awaited. The fragments of a past she could barely recall, faded photographs, a child's drawing, and cracked music box, whispered of a life she had long forgotten. As Isabella clutched the artifacts, A chilling gust of wind extinguished the single candle in the room. Darkness enveloped her, but the letter now glowed with an ethereal radiance, revealing a path she could not ignore. The whispers grew louder, urging her to unravel the enigma of Holleridge and confront the shadows that clung to her past. And so, with a heart pounding in rhythm with the spectral whispers, Isabella ventured deeper into the heart of the orphanage, ready to confront the mysteries that awaited her in the shadows. The moon hung low in the night sky, casting an ethereal glow over the twisted branches of the gnarled trees that surrounded Holleridge Orphanage. Isabella's footsteps echoed through the dense fog as she approached the decaying structure, its silhouette emerging like a phantom from the shadows. The air was thick with an otherworldly stillness, broken only by the distant cries of unseen creatures. As Isabella pushed open the rusted iron gate, a symphony of creaks resonated through the desolate courtyard. The orphanage loomed ahead, its windows shattered like vacant eyes, and ivy snaked up the crumbling walls as if nature itself sought to reclaim the forsaken edifice. The front door groaned in protest as Isabella crossed the threshold into the darkness within. The oppressive scent of damp wood and decay assaulted her senses. A flickering light, born from the pale beams of the moon filtering through cracked windows, revealed a grand entrance hall adorned with a faded mural depicting happy children playing under a benevolent matron's watchful eye. The irony of the scene weighed heavily as Isabella felt the icy fingers of the past clutch at her spine. The floor beneath her protested with each cautious step, the floorboards whispering secrets long kept. Shadows danced on the walls, casting distorted figures that seemed to mock her intrusion. It was as if the very walls held memories eager to be unearthed. Turning a corner, Isabella stumbled upon a room frozen in time, a forgotten tea party. Dusty porcelain dolls arranged around a small table, their unblinking eyes staring into the void. A chill crept down her spine as she envisioned the laughter of children long gone. The room now, a spectral memorial to innocence lost. As Isabella ascended a creaking staircase, the air grew colder and the spectral whispers intensified. Her heart quickened its pace, a symphony of dread echoing in her ears. The hallway above seemed to stretch endlessly, each door a portal to the unknown. Approaching a slightly ajar door, Isabella hesitated. The room beyond seemed to exhale a frigid breath, and the shadows within shifted like sentient specters. Summoning her courage, she pushed the door open to reveal a room frozen in time. A child's bedroom, untouched by the passage of years, greeted her wide-eyed gaze. A forgotten teddy bear lay slumped in a corner, its button eyes holding a melancholic gaze. Isabella's breath caught as she realized she stood in the room that had once been hers, the room where a forgotten past whispered its secrets. As Isabella continued her exploration, the spectral energy grew more tangible. Whispers became murmurs, and shadows seemed to dance with a life of their own. The walls bore witness to the spectral residue of laughter and sorrow, a haunting testament to the lives that had unfolded within these forsaken walls. In the dim glow of the moonlight filtering through a cracked window, Isabella felt the weight of the past pressing upon her shoulders. The orphanage, once a sanctuary for lost souls, now revealed itself as a crypt of forgotten memories. And as the night unfolded, so too did the dark secrets that slumbered within the heart of Holleridge. The echoes of Isabella's footsteps reverberated through the haunted corridors of Holleridge Orphanage as she pressed onward, guided by the chilling whispers that seemed to emanate from the very walls. Each room she entered carried the weight of untold stories, the air thick with a spectral tension that clung to her like a shroud. As Isabella delved deeper, she stumbled upon a room bathed in a sickly glow. Dust particles danced in the moonlight that filtered through the tattered curtains. A wooden rocking chair swayed ominously on its own accord, creating an eerie lullaby that resonated with the sorrow of the past. Isabella's eyes fixated on a faded photograph atop a dusty dresser. a group of children with hollow eyes and unsmiling faces, frozen in a moment of time that seemed to have forgotten joy. A weathered journal lay open on a scarred wooden desk, its pages yellowed with age. Isabella's trembling fingers traced the handwritten entries, each word revealing glimpses of a bygone era. Matilda Blackwood's meticulous script chronicled tales of laughter and mischief. But beneath the surface, Isabella sensed a growing undercurrent of despair. Moving through the corridors, Isabella found a locked door that seemed to guard its secrets jealously. The tarnished brass key she discovered on a dusty shelf fit the lock with an unsettling click. As the door swung open, a wave of cold air rushed over her, and the room revealed itself as a forgotten archive, a treasure trove of memories concealed from the light of day. Stacks of faded photographs and letters were scattered across the room, each telling a fragment of the story. Isabella's eyes widened as she recognized faces from her past, faces she had long forgotten. A family portrait adorned the wall, her parents smiling warmly, a younger version of herself clinging to her mother's side. But there, in the background, a shadowy figure loomed, its face obscured by the passage of time. As Isabella continued to sift through the remnants of the past, she uncovered a letter addressed to her parents. The ink had long dried, but the words etched upon the page spoke of a pact made in desperation and sealed with the bitter tears of the forsaken. Matilda's name appeared like a phantom in the narrative, a name entwined with the destinies of the lost children. In a hidden compartment, Isabella found a locket, an heirloom that bridged the gap between the living and the dead. As she opened it, a faded photograph revealed a younger Matilda Blackwood, her eyes reflecting a sorrow that transcended the boundaries of time. The truth clawed its way to the surface, a revelation that bound Isabella to the tormented spirit, a revelation that echoed through the hollow halls of Holleridge. As the moon dipped below the horizon, Isabella emerged from the room, the weight of her newfound knowledge settling like a heavy cloak around her shoulders. The orphanage seemed to groan in sympathy, its time-worn walls bearing witness to the unraveling of secrets long entombed in the heart of Holleridge. The night held its breath, anticipating the horrors yet to be unveiled in the spectral dance between past and present. The air within Holleridge Orphanage seemed to thicken as Isabella, burdened with the weight of revelations, navigated the labyrinthine corridors. Each step echoed through the dilapidated structure, a haunting reminder of the lives intertwined with the very fabric of the decaying walls. As Isabella rounded a dimly lit corridor, a flicker of movement caught the corner of her eye. Shadows danced in macabre waltz, and a spectral figure materialized before her. The ghostly apparition of Matilda Blackwood stood, clad in a tattered, time-worn gown, her eyes aflame with an otherworldly intensity. A mournful wind seemed to carry her voice, echoing through the desolate halls. "Isabella," Matilda's voice resonated, the syllables laden with an ethereal echo. "You have uncovered the echoes of the past, the whispers that linger in the shadows." Isabella's heart pounded in her chest as she confronted the ghostly caretaker. The air crackled with a palpable tension, a convergence of the living and the dead. "Why have you brought me here?" Isabella's voice trembled, a mix of fear and determination. Matilda's form wavered, as if caught between realms. "To unravel the bonds that tie us. Child, the past has woven a tapestry of sorrow, and you are the key to unlocking its secrets." As Isabella questioned the vengeful spirit, the very walls seemed to absorb their exchange. Unseen eyes observed the spectral communion, the air pulsating with the energy of unresolved grievances. Matilda recounted the tragic tale of her demise, a tale of betrayal, of promises broken, and of children forsaken. Isabella listened, her eyes widening with each revelation. The orphanage had become a prison for Matilda's anguished spirit, bound by an unfulfilled oath that resonated through the years. "You carry the bloodline tainted by the choices of your kin," Matilda intoned, her gaze piercing Isabella's soul. Only by understanding the depth of the betrayal can you break the shackles that bind us. As Matilda's words hung in the air, Isabella found herself thrust into a nightmarish realm where the past bled into the present. Visions of Holleridge in its prime mingled with the ghostly echoes of children's laughter. Now silenced by the passage of time, Matilda's agony became tangible, a symphony of heartache echoing through the corridors. The encounter left Isabella shaken, her mind a tempest of emotions. The ghostly visage of Matilda dissipated, leaving Isabella alone with the oppressive weight of her newfound destiny. The orphanage, once silent, now hummed with an otherworldly energy, its walls pulsating with secrets long buried. As Isabella ventured further into the spectral depths of Holleridge, she couldn't shake the feeling that the restless spirits of the past were guiding her toward a revelation that would reshape the very fabric of her existence. The dance between the living and the dead continued, each step bringing her closer to the heart of the malevolent forces that lingered in the shadows. The moon hung low in the inky sky, casting its silver glow upon the desolate Holleridge orphanage. Isabella, haunted by the spectral encounter with Matilda, pressed on, guided by an unspoken force that seemed to pull her deeper into the heart of the malevolent mysteries shrouding the decaying halls. As Isabella wandered through dimly lit corridors, the air grew thick with an otherworldly tension. The walls themselves seemed to pulsate, absorbing the spectral residue of Matilda's tormented narrative. Whispers flitted through the air like ghostly confidants, revealing the cruel dance of the past that held the orphanage captive. In a room bathed in a sickly blue glow, Isabella stumbled upon a spectral tableau. The apparitions of children, their faces etched with sadness and longing, replayed a haunting scene from their forgotten lives. Their translucent forms giggled and played, oblivious to the passage of time, forever frozen in the memory of a joy that had long since evaporated. The temperature dropped precipitously as Isabella reached the heart of the orphanage, where the air seemed to thrum with ethereal energy. Shadows coalesced into ephemeral shapes, and a mournful melody echoed through the desolate corridors. Holleridge itself appeared to come alive, as if the very essence of the building resonated with the spectral forces that clung to its walls. In a room adorned with faded murals, Isabella encountered an antique mirror that reflected more than her own reflection. As she gazed into its depths, the glass rippled with the visage of Matilda Blackwood, her eyes ablaze with an otherworldly fire. The mirror became a portal to the past, revealing snippets of Matilda's life before the darkness descended upon Holleridge. Matilda's voice echoed once more, her ethereal whispers intertwining with the mournful wail of a distant wind. The past cannot be undone, Isabella, but the bonds that tether us can be severed. Isabella, overcome with a sense of duty and destiny, felt the weight of the locket against her chest. She clutched it as if it were a talisman, a bridge between the realms of the living and the dead. The locket pulsed with a mysterious energy, resonating with the agony of Matilda's spirit. The supernatural phenomena intensified as Isabella delved further into the heart of the mystery. Doors creaked open of their own accord, revealing long-forgotten rooms pulsating with spectral memories. Phantom footsteps echoed in the darkness, and disembodied whispers provided cryptic clues to the secrets buried within the walls. As the night unfolded, Isabella found herself caught in a surreal dance between the corporeal and the spectral. Shadows seemed to cling to her like lingering phantoms, and the air crackled with the unresolved energy of the past. The orphanage, once a mere vessel for the lost, now exhaled its haunted breath, revealing a history stained with sorrow and betrayal. The supernatural forces at play intensified, setting the stage for a confrontation that would shatter the fragile boundary between the realms of the living and the dead. Isabella, a reluctant protagonist in this macabre tale, stood at the precipice of an abyss, ready to face the malevolent specters that awaited in the shadows of Holleridge. The ominous symphony of the night reached its crescendo as Isabella, tethered to the past by spectral threads, continued her journey through the haunted corridors of Holleridge Orphanage. The air clung to her skin, charged with an unsettling energy that foretold the imminent collision of the living and the dead. As Isabella approached the heart of the orphanage, the shadows seemed to deepen, coalescing into an otherworldly veil that obscured the boundaries between reality and the supernatural. The spectral echoes of Matilda's voice guided her, a haunting melody that resonated through the twisted architecture of the forsaken building. The room that housed the final confrontation exhaled a frigid breath, its atmosphere charged with the lingering sorrow of 1,000 lost souls. Isabella stood at the threshold, the weight of the locket against her chest, a constant reminder of the fate that awaited her. The walls seemed to pulse with an unholy heartbeat, as if the very soul of Holleridge yearned for release. In the center of the room, a spectral figure materialized. Matilda Blackwood, her form translucent yet imbued with a palpable anguish, hovered before Isabella. The air rippled with the tension of unspoken words, and the room seemed suspended in a timeless void. "Isabella," Matilda's voice echoed, a spectral lament that reverberated through the very fabric of existence. "You carry the burden of a legacy stained by betrayal. The time has come to break the chains that bind us." The locket around Isabella's neck pulsed with an otherworldly light, resonating with the spectral forces that held her fate in their ethereal grasp. As Matilda recounted the tragic events that had led to her demise, Isabella's own memories merged with the haunted narrative, revealing the twisted tapestry of her family's dark secrets. The room flickered with ghostly apparitions, mirroring the agony etched into Matilda's features. The walls groaned as if echoing the collective sorrow of the forgotten children. The tension in the air reached its zenith, setting the stage for a confrontation that would decide the fate of both the living and the dead. With a sudden surge of determination, Isabella confronted Matilda, her voice a whisper in the spectral wind. "I will break the cycle. The sins of the past will not define me." The room convulsed, and the very foundations of Holleridge seemed to quake as the locket, now a conduit of spectral energy, illuminated the darkness. The malevolent forces recoiled, and the air crackled with the release of pent-up anguish. In a climactic surge, Isabella's surroundings morphed into a spectral whirlwind. The room dissolved into a phantasmagoric dreamscape, where past and present intertwined in a surreal dance. Matilda's spirit, freed from the shackles of Holleridge, ascended into the ethereal embrace of the afterlife. As the tumultuous energies subsided, Isabella found herself standing in the aftermath of a supernatural storm. The room, once a bastion of spectral sorrow, now lay still, the air cleansed of the oppressive weight that had lingered for decades. Holleridge Orphanage, a relic of the haunted past, began to crumble, its walls disintegrating into dust. Isabella, bearing witness to the final act in the tragic saga, emerged from the ruins, the locket around her neck now a dormant artifact. The night sky, no longer obscured by the veil of sorrow, glittered with stars, and the forest that had stood sentinel over Holleridge seemed to exhale a sigh of relief. Isabella, free from the shadows of her past, stood beneath the moonlit canopy, a survivor of a supernatural ordeal that transcended the boundaries of the living and the dead. The whispers that had haunted Holleridge for so long now faded into the echoes of a bygone tale. Isabella, carrying the weight of the past in her heart, ventured into the moonlit night, leaving behind the ruins of the haunted orphanage and the lingering specters that had once called it home. The haunted legacy of Holleridge had come to an end, but the echoes of the final confrontation lingered in the shadows, a testament to the thin veil that separates the realms of the living and the dead.